Hello, my fellow music lovers. I'm Allison Hagendorf, and welcome to the show. This is where we celebrate the universal love of music and the rock and roll spirit that lives in each of us. My guest today is the mega rock star, Corey Taylor. You know him from his bands Slipknot and Stone Sour, but today we dive into his solo music and the stories behind it. This week, he put out Beyond, the first song off of his upcoming solo album, CMF2, which is out this fall, and he also announced his US tour. We talk all about the new music, how music literally saved his life, why he describes himself as the worst metal dad, the new bands he's loving, and how he is going to celebrate this year's milestone birthday. And stay tuned after the interview for my sound advice. New music you need to know. It all starts now. You sound great. You look awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not bad. I'm suffering from a sinus infection right now, so I'm really. I got it. I swear to God, we finished recording CMF2, and my whole system just went, "You're done." It's just like I was like, no. It was awful. But I mean, it's. Listen, it could be worse. I'm not going to complain or anything. It could be way worse, right?
But you did finish recording?
Yeah. Just 2 days ago. We just finished recording everything, and it's massive. I'm putting it out there right now that it's the best rock album of this year and next year.
Oh my God, Corey. I am so excited. And I'm going to hold up my CMFT belt to just celebrate this moment.
There it is.
I have been following all of your hilarious behind the scenes. I mean, first of all, you are hilarious. And all I kept thinking, I know you've done acting and stuff, but have you done comedy, like an improv?
No. I mean, the closest I came is when I would do my spoken word stuff on the road. I would open with probably about 20 to 30 minutes just riffing, just talking and whatever, and then we would do the Q&A. But yeah, I've never done all my comedian friends keep telling me that I should try like an open mic thing, and I'm like, no. Listen, I know how difficult stand up can be, and I would never even think that I could do that the way they do it. Like there's so much work and craft that goes into it, and I'm just a dork, I'm really funny when people know who I am, but if it's just a cold room, they don't want to hear about it, right? So yeah, I'm all
when
good.
You're like, it's totes ridics, it's totes ridics. Like you're the
totes,
funny.
Defos,
maybe there's
predicts.
Maybe there's a role for you. I don't know. I'm set on this. I just think you're so funny.
Dude, I would totally do a comedic movie. I would 100% do that, because I don't think that would be playing so against cast really. Because they put me in horror movies all the time, but I would just I could be the dude on the couch, I'm not afraid to do that. So, and God knows I've known enough of those people, so I could definitely.
That's what I'm saying. Of course you've done the horror films. We get it. Of course it makes sense. But I just think I'm just throwing it out there. I think it'd be hilarious in a different kind of role. I digress.
No, let's put it into the universe.
Let's put it out
see what happens, man.
I also wanted to just point out, because it was an interesting statistic that I came up with that I just wanted to celebrate you again. But I didn't realize in 2021, when Black Eyes Blue went to number one, it was the first time that an artist in that format reached number one with three separate projects: Slipknot, Stone Sour, and Corey Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty cool achievement. Does stuff like that, does that mean something to you?
It's pretty rad. I mean, it's not anything that I thought would happen, and honestly, I didn't even realize that I would be the first to do that. I would have thought there were dozens of people who were in my position that could have pulled that off, But when I heard about it, it kind of pushed me back. I was like, that's rad, So, I mean, it's just one more sign that I'm doing something right. So, but yeah, I was very, very grateful. And I mean, the band was amazing that I got to work with. And yeah, I was pretty proud.
Well, it really speaks to just your versatility. And I want to talk all about the new music, but I do also want to talk about Bone Church,
Right.
which was a beautiful, brooding ballad that we were surprised to receive. Um, Tell me a little bit about this song. Now, was this something that you guys had been working on for a while?
Dude, we've had that song for a long time, to be honest. And the plan to put it out kind of came out of nowhere. Let's put it that way. That was a song that we recorded during the demo stages of "We Are Not Your Kind," to be honest. So it's been floating around for a minute,
Okay.
and obviously it's such a new landscape with everything. You don't really say, there's really no place to put this anymore because obviously you can throw it up as just a kind of standalone thing and just see what happens. But Clown had a vision for it, and I was happy to help him do that. We had so much leftover footage from the Yen
Hmm.
video shoot that he was able to kind of knit it together and really make something really cool. I mean, his eye is always looking for the art, and that song, I guess in my eyes, really just kind of lent itself to it.
It's really awesome. I mean, it surprised me in the best way possible. I just thought it was gorgeous.
Yeah,
And then, there's also been talk about Look Outside Your Window.
right.
Do you think we're gonna see that this year?
I mean, the best way to make God laugh is to announce your plans out loud. So
Good call. Good call. Yeah.
listen, he's been telling me that it's coming out for over 10 years. So I honestly, I just sit back and I go, all right, I mean, whatever, it's
Sounds
fine.
good.
Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you think is best. I mean, at this point,
Got it.
as long as they just send me a free copy, I'll be fine. Like I just,
Okay.
I can't tell you, man. I went back and I re-listened to a lot of that stuff not long ago, and I forgot how good, not only how good the songwriting was, but just how lush the recording was, to be honest. I mean,
Mhm.
you're talking about two separate worlds that were going on at the time. They had All Hope Is Gone going up here, which was just dark and filthy. And then up the hill at the house, at Matt's house, Matt Sapanic, who owned the studio, was this whole other world of experimentation and, you know, which just gave birth to this crazy. I don't like to compare it to too many bands, but there's definitely a Radiohead vibe to it, with
Yes.
a little more thought to song structure. Let's put it that way, because Radiohead likes to
Mhm.
go off on tangents,
Yep.
and we kind of consigned it to the song structure, but those elements are definitely there, man.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, someday in 100 years when the album gets released, we'll see what happens. But I think people are ready to hear it now. I don't know if they would have been ready then, but I definitely think
Mhm.
they're probably ready to hear it now.
I'm definitely ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for I'm ready for CMF2. And
Oh,
you've said instead of where I came from, this is where I'm going. Tell me more
yeah.
about that.
So, the first album was really just me kind of throwing the spaghetti at the wall, man. It's like I had all these leftover songs. There were, I don't want to say spare parts because I love those songs, but they just felt like I was like, okay, if I never get another chance to record these songs, this is the opportunity. I mean, so this is very much like kind of the starting point was, just all these tunes. It didn't fit with anything that I'd ever really done before. And some of those songs I had tried to give to other people and nobody, they didn't want to record them. So I was like, okay, this will be the starting point. Now that I knew that I had a band that could handle any musical challenge, anything I threw at them, that's when it got really, really exciting. The material is darker. It's definitely heavier. Um, there are some that it's probably some of the best songs I've ever written.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean I mean hook wise, there are hooks coming out. I mean, there's so many hooks it might as well be a Hellraiser movie. I mean, it's that gnarly, right?
So from an actual songwriting perspective, like
Yeah,
you feel that your songwriting is stronger in this.
but at the same time, uh, some of the people who were listening to it told me they could feel not only different genres, but different decades,
I love that.
all in one song, just kind of almost in a weird hybrid way, but without trying to feel like a hybrid album, you know? Like, it's
Mhm.
basically taking all of these vibes and creating an amalgam that just explodes when you hear it. I mean, there's screaming, there's double bass, but there's also a mandolin song.
Nice.
There's damn near country, but there's also speed punk. I mean, but it's all focused this time. Whereas the first album kind of felt a little eclectic, which it was supposed to be.
Mhm.
But this album is so much more focused, and so is the playing. I mean, the playing is 3 times better than the first album. The performances are 3 times better. It's just this album eats the first album and then engulfs everything around it. That's how good it is.
Oh my god, I love to hear that. So, I mean, it makes sense because you have so many influences and you
Right.
hear them on the first album, but it sounds like the second album is more cohesive overall, sonically.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good word to use, is cohesive. It's honestly, it gives people more of what they have grown to know about me, you know? Like, it gives them the heavy, it gives them the darker, it gives them there's a there's a very somber acoustic song on the album called "Sorry Me," which is, it's a song, like, I can write that stuff all day, but I haven't in a while, and that was just a song that I just started kinda tinkering around with, and it's actually the last song I wrote for the album, and
Wow.
it came out I I won't give too much away, but we had a cellist came in, and she was
Ah,
able to just knit this vibe together so well that I we listened back to it, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking
I
about
have
it.
goosebumps just hearing you
That
talk about it.
oh, it's so good. My wife heard it and she was just like, "Oh, yeah." Like, this is the
Oh,
album I think everybody expected from me on the first album, but now that I've been able to kind of establish myself and establish the fact that you never really know what you're gonna get with me, you know?
mhm.
I can put an album together that has hints of Slipknot, Stone Sour, the first album, and then all of the music that has made me who I am today, you know? It's me basically just kind of pulling it all together and going, "All right, now let's see what we got. Now let's see where we go from here."
I love that. Was any part of making this album cathartic for you? It
Oh,
sounds
there
like you've kind
yeah.
of, like, tiptoed into new territories that you haven't before.
Not only was it cathartic, but it made me really proud as a songwriter, man, you know? And not only that, but just the people who I assembled for this band, you know? Essentially, it's the same band, with the exception of Elliot Larango on bass, and we were able to I mean, and he's so good that I mean, you can throw any style at him. He can play Cliff Burton, he can play John Paul Jones, he can play Duff McKagan, he can do it all. So it's almost
So
criminal.
talented.
It almost makes me
Yeah,
angry at him, you know, like he's
angry.
that good.
So good,
Um,
yeah.
but the cool thing is that he and Dustin, our drummer, locked in so tight that me and Tooch and Zach were able to really kind of lay the foundation guitar wise. And I would just sit back and go, this started as an idea on my couch, like filming it and sending it to these guys. And they took it and just ran with it. And sometimes
Ah,
taking it and running with it, not even knowing what the vocals would sound like until we got in
aw.
and recorded it. You know, the first 2 tracks of this album are called the intro track is called "The Box," and that's the mandolin song I was talking about. It's very vibey, very almost like a Nine Inch Nails, Led Zeppelin vibe,
Okay, that's amazing.
and that leads into a really heavy song called "Post Traumatic Blues," which deals with that trauma and how you move on and how you keep trying to find ways to make yourself a little more sane in a crazy world, you know?
Mhm.
And the way those 2 fit together, then the way those guys laid the guitar work, and honestly, I only sent it to them as music. Like, they didn't even hear me sing it until we got in the studio. And they were just like
Ah,
they looked at me, they were like, "Okay, this is this is already my favorite stuff that we're doing on the album. And it just made me really happy, really proud. And it made me, and coming from them, then these guys are some of the best in the business, and made me really grateful that, I
Oh,
had
that's
dudes like
awesome.
that in my corner. Yeah.
Isn't that a gift when you just find this creative chemistry, and you're
It's
in a
hard.
room and you're like, "Wow, we're creating something pretty special here."
Yeah, man. I mean, it's so rare.
It is.
There are, well, and not only is it rare, but it's even rarer that you find people that not only you vibe with creatively, but they're some of the best people on the planet, you
Like
know?
human beings. Right,
Exactly.
right, right.
And sometimes you get one, not the other,
Not the
sometimes,
other.
or vice versa. But I've been really, really lucky to not only have great friends, but friends that have been shredding for 20 years now, or 20 plus years. And it's kind of reflected in how we are together. I mean, you saw the videos that we've been
Yeah.
posting online. We're all
The
such
best.
dorks, man. Like, it doesn't even
I love
matter, but
it.
we can throw down with anybody, and that's what's rad.
And I think that chemistry and that energy will come through in the music, and I really
Oh
cannot
yeah.
wait to hear it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to hear it too. I'd say I always go back to when we did that listening session for Hydrograd.
Oh, that was the best.
We had so
Yes.
much fun, and I was so nervous playing it for everybody. And then once everybody heard it, like, it was almost like this just big sigh of relief. And that's the way I am with this. Like, I'm so excited to play it for everybody that I'm nervous to play it for everybody. So, I mean, we'll definitely see what happens, but I think I don't think people are ready, to be honest. I don't think they're ready for what
Uh,
they're going to hear.
I cannot wait. And by the way, going back to that listening session we had, first of all, it's one of my favorite memories with you. And Fabulous is still on all my workout playlists.
It's
Like, that song is such a freaking banger. I love
Dude,
that song
we threw
so
that in the
much.
set when we did the UK shows, for
Ah,
CMFT, and I forgot the pop that the audience gives when that song kicked in. I mean, they
yeah.
just were like, "Yeah!" And I was just like, "Okay, this was a good decision
That
right here."
song's fire. I mean, that
Yeah,
song needs to be like in every set and every workout playlist. Like, if I just need to get pumped up or I'm just so angry, that's like my
right.
outlet, that song. It's a go-to for me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it is.
Well, we try. We do our best.
I wanted to also just point out, because I am really a fan of yours, not just as a musician, but you really inspire me, because I think that people see you and you're funny, you're charismatic. Of course, you're an incredible frontman. But I'm not sure if everyone realizes what you've been through and the obstacles that you have had
Right,
to overcome. And I honestly find that to be the most fascinating and
right.
endearing. And I hope you are also proud, not only of making your great music, but that what you've been through and where you are now, and like what an inspiration you are. Even just learning about your childhood and how
Yeah.
you moved to like a multitude of states,
Yeah.
during a very young, impressionable time in your life. I would just, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear just a little bit more about your upbringing like that, and how, thank God for music, because it really did serve as a grounding force and a medicine for you.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, and honestly, music, and I've said this for so many years now, and and every time I say it, it strengthens how much I feel about it. Like, music was my lifeline.
Hmm.
It really was. It was the only thing that made me feel something other than horrible, really, and
Oh,
hated and painful.
yeah.
When you're growing up surrounded by so much chaos, so much pain, so much, I mean, the people who we lived with were just incredible addicts. We had no money. All the money went to getting them chemicals, my family included, man. I mean, it was gnarly. And then the abuse that came with it. You grew up very much in an environment where you never felt safe. You never felt like you were always on guard. You were always just very aware of who was in the room. You were very aware of if, who was coming over. You were very aware of what was being done. And it made you coil like a spring,
Mm.
basically. And when, you know, once I got out of that environment, it took years. for me to actually feel like I could relax, you know? I spent so many years kind of just living on floors
Mhm.
that I forgot what beds felt like, you know? I mean,
Wow,
it
yeah.
was something, you know, it's stuff like that that I've really forced myself to, I guess, appreciate, you know, is the
Mhm.
right word. You know, there are days I wake up and, you know, it's, you know, the normal wear and tear mentally of life, and you go, "You know what? At least I'm not sleeping on concrete.
Mhm.
At least I'm not sleeping with everything that I cherish curled up in my arms because I don't want somebody to steal it." You know, like
Yeah.
it's that level of appreciation for what, you know, whatever the universe has allowed me to do. And sometimes I kind of think about that maybe I had to kind of go through that to get on this other side,
Mhm.
but to also be able to share it and to encourage people to stick, you know, stick it out because things will always get better. You know, it can always be better, you know? And
Right.
I have so many people come up to me at conventions and whatnot where I do a lot of signings or the meet and greets for the band or uh you know, the people who I meet through the Taylor Foundation. Um
Right.
which, you know, and that's everybody. I mean, that's veterans, that's former law enforcement, you know, people in emergency services, all of their families. They come up to me and they tell me how much they appreciate what I've done,
Mm.
and I have to remind them that I was just in the background. You did all the heavy work. You did all the heavy
Mhm.
lifting. So don't ever, ever give somebody else uh, credit for the work that you did, you know? Like, it's like, I appreciate that, but at the same time, you should be very proud of the fact that you pulled yourself out of those, you know, those situations, or you rose above the things that were happening to you
Mhm.
to find a better place for yourself, man. And I think that gets lost a lot of times when you're talking to people. We have those people that we look to, that we appreciate and, you know, we look up to, but at the same time, we're the ones doing, you know, nobody's holding our feet when we're doing pull-ups, you know, like
Yeah.
we're doing it on our own. And, you know, and I appreciate all of that, but at the same time, I make sure that, you know, the finger gets pointed back at them because they're the ones that did a lot. They deserve a lot of the credit.
Right. And, to think about your music has done for so many people what that moment when what Faith No More did for you.
Right.
You had hit a rock bottom moment, and
Yeah.
there was a specific performance, right? And that sorta
Yeah.
changed everything for you?
Yeah. It was the Video Music Awards. And I mean, I guess I'll go back a little bit. I it was honestly, it was the last time I tried to commit suicide, and it was a pretty dark day for me. I was 19, and a friend of mine, their mom found me at the house. I'd taken a bunch of pills, and for some reason, she had stopped by to drop some stuff off that was at my, and she found me and she called 911. She got me into that. She kept me alive. She got me into the ambulance
Wow.
and got me to the hospital. I woke up and they were pumping my stomach. They had fed me Ipecac, and I'm, you know, which to this day, I'd have a hard time every time I taste maple syrup just a little bit. There's that part of me that goes, "Whoop." It's
Association. Yeah.
so gross. But I also eat my weight in pancakes, so it doesn't really matter. But I remember having to call because I had nobody else to call. I had to call my grandmother. Um, and obviously, you know, she and I were so close. For her to see me in that state was difficult, you know. A
Right.
very cold, very quiet ride back to her house because I had nowhere else to go.
And she was your rock. She
Yeah,
was your rock.
she was my everything, man. Like, she was
Yeah.
my rock, she was home. She was the person she was the only person in my life that made me feel safe.
Oh,
Um, and, you know, there's not a day that I don't think about her, you know. It's been almost 4 years now that we lost her, and it's yeah,
what a special woman. Thank
yeah,
God.
she
Thank
really
God you
was,
had
man.
her.
But yeah, I mean, I was laying on the couch, the Video Music Awards were on, and here comes this crazy band. Like, and I knew them. I knew the videos, I knew the songs, but I'd never seen anything so subversive
Yeah.
and so just, you know, I
Badass.
mean, they
Yes.
didn't care, and
Yeah.
I
Mike
I
Patton's
kinda
so
sat
cool.
up. He was the progenitor for everything in my head that I wanted to do.
Wow.
I just like because they played every style. He dressed any way he wanted. He did anything that he wanted, and he was just like, "You're never gonna change me, and I'm not gonna play your game, so screw you."
Yeah.
And I immediately fell in love with that, and I was like, "Okay." It kind of I dabbled in music for a little bit, and I'd gotten away from it, but in that moment, I knew I was just like, "I'm rededicating myself to it, and this is what I wanna do."
That's amazing. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Have you spoken with him? Does he know, the role that his music played in your life?
Every time I see him and he's so nice to me that but I'm always just such a tool. It just kinda I really am, man. Like, I j it's but I'm like that with everybody. Like, I was like that with, Dave Vanian when I met him.
Uh-huh.
I was like that with Alice,
Aw.
all the dudes who I look up to, I really take myself out of the center of attention. I kinda hang back and I just go, "Oh, I'm such
You're
a
a true
dick."
music
I
fan. You
am,
go you get
man, and I
excited.
also appreciate the fact that for the most part, I'm on a first name basis with these people, which is I can't
Right.
to this day
Aw.
handle it. Every time I've seen him, it's kind of been in passing, we've talked, we've hung out and stuff, but I've never been able to share that with him, because for a second, when Slipknot first hit, I would always drop his name as a huge influence because of that. And I don't think he understood the background of it because when he heard it, he was just like, "Oh, he can do better than that." I was like, "No, you can't really because you're fucking Mike Patton, man. I mean, you kidding me?"
Aw.
So for me, I don't even know if I would want to, I
Right, I
just
hear that.
it's one of those things where I cherish that moment because of what it helped me do, and to me, that's like I love the fact that I can kind of pass it on, but I don't think I'd ever need to say thank you to him, Like
Yeah.
I've seen him live so many times and he has always blown me away. I mean, there has never been a moment where I've watched him sing or perform and I mean, I've said anything other than, "Oh my god." I mean,
Aw.
he knows no limits and he's just ridiculously amazing, you know?
So cool. And I know that you're a huge Pearl Jam fan too, which I
Oh, yeah.
love.
Yeah, yeah. That first album is a clinic in just how imaginative you can be, the hooks, the vocals, the it was such an amazing blend of the urgency of, like, punk and that
Mhm.
kind of alternative style. You just could feel it all kinda come together, and to this day, they're just one of the best bands that ever were.
I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that you could ever do collaboration with Eddie? Would that be a dream for you?
Man, I'd love that, I've heard, because we have some mutual friends, I've heard that he's a really great dude, really nice guy.
Yeah.
I would write with him in a heartbeat, man. I wouldn't even know what to do. I would just sit back. It's like, I'm just gonna strum these chords. You just sing. I just want to hear you sing stuff, Just I'd just
Even
be
just him
thrilled
as
to be involved.
ukulele, you know?
Right, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
anything
grab
he
my
does.
mandolele and just be like,
That's
it'd be
right.
rad.
I love it. I'm putting that out there too, by the way. I'm putting
Yeah,
out
yeah.
your comedy
Let's
role,
put
and
it
I'm putting
all
out
out
you and
there.
Eddie Vedder. Yeah. But I think it's also really cool about you, and you've said this, that you really want to also wave the flag for younger bands,
Right.
or just for, mid-level bands who haven't had an opportunity. Um, and you named a band who I love, Amiel and the Sniffers.
Oh,
I never know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Isn't that the coolest band? I think she's awesome.
they're so good, and
Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine turned me on to them, and I can remember listening to it, and obviously I didn't even realize that they had other albums. I just heard the new album
Mhm.
that came out a couple of years ago, and I immediately ran to
Yeah.
my wife. I was like, "You have to hear this band," because she and I are
Yes.
so dialed when it comes to stuff like that. And the ferocity in her attack, but then also just the fun energy that comes out of that, like just her performance, her songs, and the music itself. It's just, you can just see it's like they feel it and they mean it, but at the same time they're kind of like, we can take this or leave it, you know? And to me,
Yes.
that's the punk spirit, man. It's just
Of
like,
course.
whatever. We're going to give you what we want to give you. You get nothing more, nothing less. Kiss our ass. We are going to do exactly what we want. And that to me is, ugh, it's anathema to everything that is so out there just begging to be
Yes.
popular, begging to be pretty. And it's just like, fuck off,
Yeah.
man. This is where it's at.
It's just so raw. Yeah, it's just
Exactly.
raw and
Yeah.
authentic, and she pumps me up.
Oh, yeah, it's I put her on when I'm running, man, when I'm doing cardio and stuff, like, I have a whole,
Yes.
like, playlist, and I just grind through it because I just know I can get through it, you know?
So good. What about the band Sleep Token? Are you familiar with them?
Dude, I tell you what, I hadn't even heard them until my wife, Alicia.
I love that you guys talk music together. I love that.
Dude, oh, she and I, we that was one of the things that we bonded on, man, is that we just loved music, and we share music together so much, you know, because I mean, with her group, she's always thinking in
Of
music, you
course.
know? So when she finds something amazing, she's just like, you got to hear this. And when I first heard Sleep Token, I was like, what the hell is this, man?
Yeah.
They, to me, are one of the few new, I don't even I'll call them metal, but there's so many different levels and layers to their
Mhm.
music.
Yes.
There's pop elements, there's jazz elements, there's moments that
There's like an
feel,
R&B feel to it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like
I love the fact that nobody really knows who they are. I love the
Mhm.
fact that they don't want to be known, you know? I mean, there are hints of early Slipknot there, you know, where it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at first we were just like, nope, you get nothing. This is what you get. You figure it out. It would let the music speak for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I, you know, when Alicia was just like, gotta check this out. I mean, I can remember sitting down and just going, Jesus, this is really good, you know? So it's stuff like that that gives me hope for the future.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear you say that because I love them. I think
Yeah.
they are so cool. And yes, the whole anonymity and the mask, I just was wondering how you specifically felt about them, but that's cool to hear you say that.
Oh, it's great. No, I think,
Yeah.
you know, because there's so many, the problem comes, it's not that there's no creativity, to be honest, in
Mhm.
music. The problem comes when all of these bands either choose to or are made to use the same producer, the same production, they suck the life completely out of it. It's all composed on a computer and it just sounds flat. It's
Mhm.
the same tone. There's no identity to it. That as soon as I hear it, and I just and I my ear is so tuned to that modern production that as soon
Yeah.
as I hear it, I just go, nope, shut it off. I don't even
Right.
care because there's no vibe, there's no life, there's no heart to
Right.
any of that stuff. And I get it. It's easy. It's it's what everybody does, and a lot of people, that's all they care about is easy, and that's what everybody does. I have never been that dude.
Right.
I would rather get in a room and play music at people and have that music collide in the air and become the fingerprint of that moment. That's what it's all about, man. When you flatline everything, you're sending music out there to die. So
Yeah.
bands like Sleep Token, man, there's so much vibe there, and you can feel
Yes.
the artistic endeavors that they're really, they're reaching for. It's going to be exciting to see where they go, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. What about your son Griffin and his band? Does that make you really proud to see him doing his thing?
If you ever want to see me cheese out like crazy, just look side of the stage for at a Vended show.
Yeah.
that I'm at, and you will see me
Aw.
losing my mind. I am the worst metal dad on the planet. He it's so funny, and I call him out all the time. Like, he didn't even wanna play music, man. Like, when he was young, he didn't even care. I tried teaching him how to play guitar. I tried teaching him how to play drums. I tried teaching him all this stuff, and he was like, "Meh." Like,
Uh-huh.
he wanted to do his own.
Do his own thing, right.
Exactly. And I was like, and I never pushed it on him. I was like, okay, fair enough. I'm telling you though, someday you're gonna wish. And he, to this day, he goes, man, I really wish I had stuck with the guitar. And I'm like, see, I
Mhm,
told
told
you.
you.
But I love the fact that he gravitated towards it on his own terms.
Yeah.
He gravitated towards music with people that he grew up with friends who were able to put a band together, a real band, not something that
Mhm.
was, kind of constructed by parents.
Right.
These are people that he went to school with, man,
Like his
and
buddies,
yeah,
yeah.
like, and they hang to this day, they rib each other, they mess with each other. Every time I see them on the road, all I do is mess with them. And they turn around, they just go, "You're so old." And I'm like, whatever. I know I'm old. You think I'm not old? So I love that because they're working on new music right now, and he keeps like sending me like little snippets of stuff, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is really good. He's got a fire that I recognize in my, from,
Yeah,
just he and I are kind of cut, we're cut from the same cloth, and
right.
there's a part of me that is bummed out because I know a little bit of that is because I wasn't always there.
Mhm, mhm.
Sometimes being on the road as long as I was, we missed each other, man. I mean, we took advantage of every second that we could together, but I wasn't there a lot, if I was working. So I know part of that fire comes from that.
Mhm.
But I will say that now, I mean, we're tighter than ever, like he and I talk
Aw, that's awesome.
every day. And he, he will call me and he will sing lyrics to me with no music just to spit it out, just kind of get it out there. And I'm just sitting there, grinning like an idiot, listening to my son like
Oh,
bars. And it's just,
that's really awesome.
yeah, man. Like
That's really
it's a
beautiful.
proud papa moment that, I wish for everybody in the world to have that. And yeah, yeah, it's rad.
Oh, that's really beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to hear that. I wanna ask you about something, switching gears. So, of
Okay.
course, we know that you and Machine Gun Kelly have had your differences, and I by no means wanna rehash any of that.
Okay.
I feel a little responsible because it was with him on my show talking about that whole shoe rockstar metaphor thing that sort of sparked some conversation.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
But but I wanted to know if you knew that since all that went down, he has verbalized that he could have acted differently and he should have just picked up the phone.
Right.
I didn't know if you were aware that he had made such a sentiment or
I heard. I mean, we have mutual friends and whatnot. And sometimes people are just gonna butt heads. I mean,
yeah.
you know, he and I are very similar in certain ways, and which shock and awe. Big mouth singers. We are big mouth singers. I appreciate that. And I guess sometimes I know from my past mistakes that sometimes the words get out, and I wish I could grab them. And
Mhm.
it is what it is. It's one of those things where he and I will probably never be friends, but I'm sure we can both respect each other for what we do and what we've done
Right.
and just move on, and
Totally.
it's stuff like that it never needs to keep going.
Right.
Once you've said your piece, that's it. And a lot of times it's the fans that carry it on,
Yeah.
and they, especially in this day and age with social media and everything, it it happened. It was a moment, and
Yeah.
I made my I made my peace with
Great.
it. I'm assuming he did as well. And
Yeah.
there's that.
Good. I'm glad to hear.
You know.
I'm a lover, so I'm always just trying to
Right.
put out the love vibes out there.
Right.
You have a pretty big milestone year personally. This is a big year for you.
Oh yeah.
You have a big you have
I'm
a big
clinging. I'm clinging to 49 as hard as I
uh-huh.
can because December that's it. I mean, we are ticking into the fives. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, listen, hey, it could be worse, you know. I could be turning 50 and look 70. Okay. I mean, I'm aging
You look
fairly
great. You
decently.
look
Thank you.
great.
I take no credit for it. My wife likes me and just wants me to be healthy, and she won't let me eat all of the dangerous crap that I love. And she's just like, listen, I've I just got you, and you don't get
Aw.
to die. You're gonna stay alive for like 80 years. I was like, wait, what? 80 years? So she she helps me. She's stoked that I'm turning 50, and she's putting like this whole big birthday thing together, man. And she
Oh,
won't
that's
tell me what it is.
awesome.
And I'm just like, oh, that's terrifying.
You know what? You gotta celebrate. That's wonderful. Getting older is wonderful. It's a gift.
I never thought I would see the other side of 21, to be honest, man. I mean, the way I grew up, I was
Mhm.
haunted by the fact that I would die in my 20s, just because of the way I lived, the way I
Mhm.
was, the anger that I just was unrequited, the way that I would just lash out. I was convinced I wasn't going to make it. So the fact that,
Aw.
here we are, I mean, it's cool, I can still walk upright. I can still I can still lift heavy things. I can take the jar, take the lids off jars for my wife. I'm doing good.
That's amazing.
I haven't peaked yet, but we're getting there.
You're 50 and fabulous.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
exactly.
Fabulous.
Oh,
Sorry, I
there's a
had to.
t-shirt. I love that. Yeah, we got to do that.
You heard it here first. Yeah. It's like me and my dad jokes. I can't help myself.
No, hey, trust me, we've got tons of them. It's fine.
I'm sure you do. If you could go back and talk to your 21-year-old self, what would you say?
Well, I mean, there's a handful of things I'd probably say. It's like, uh, don't get well. How how weird do you want me to
Whatever
go?
you
Okay,
go for it.
all I'll say, and this is a blanket statement. Make of it what you want. Don't find yourself in certain situations where you are naked, in danger, and someone's trying to kill you.
I think that's great advice. It's pretty
And
solid advice
listen,
right
if it
there.
had just happened once, I could have let it go, but it was a handful of different times. And listen,
It was a recurring theme.
I was young and in love, okay, with booze and everything else. So there you have it.
Oh my God. Well, Corey, you look amazing. So you keep doing you. And Alicia is the best influence. I'm glad.
I cannot tell you how amazing she is, man. I love the fact
Aw.
that I have her.
Yes. Having a supportive partner is truly the greatest gift. That's awesome.
It's huge. Yeah.
All right. We do something called deep cuts. It's like a lightning round.
Ooh, okay.
Name a song, album, or artist that changed your life.
I would have to say, just because it's the first thing that come at the top of my head,
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails. And I would say pretty much any song off of Broken, because
Yeah.
that EP was so earth-shattering for me, man. Like, because I mean, I loved the first album, but the production on that one, the way Wish was just so visceral and in your face. It was one of the greatest songs ever written. And to this day, I listen to it and it just makes me want to just bust through walls like the Kool-Aid guy. I mean, it's so
I love
gnarly.
that.
That song, it changed the way that I looked at writing songs, and it changed the way that my approach to making music, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah. Trent is a genius.
He is a
Freaking genius.
complete beast. I
Genius.
just saw him last year at one of the festivals. I think it was Louder Than Life, and they were incredible. They played twice as long as Slipknot did, and they were so good. And it was freezing outside. I was like, how does this work? How is he doing this?
I feel like they're better than ever. I
I
think
think
he
they are too.
looks incredible. It's almost like it's this weird ageless thing. Like, you'd
Yeah.
almost think he like sleeps in an oxygen chamber or something. Like, he's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good,
exactly.
you
I'm just like,
know?
there's something happening. Like
Something's
somebody's
happening
maybe
here.
maybe he
Figure this
rubs
out.
butter on his face. Like at
There's some
night,
secret.
it's just, it absorbs. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
Totally. What was your first concert?
My first concert, technically, I didn't even realize I was at a concert. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Um, there's this thing in Waterloo, Iowa, called the Fourth Street Cruise. It's kind of like a low rent fair. It's where basically every year they would have all these people with rad old classic cars drive up and down Fourth Street. And they would have vendors. There were gnarly, semi-dangerous carny rides, that
Okay.
they
Yeah.
bust in from like Arkansas or something. There's
It's like, go at your own risk. We're not sure how
exactly, which
stable
makes
this
it a
is.
little more fun, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I don't know. So me and my friends, we would go down there because we could get away from adults and we could smoke and do drugs. So we, we're down there, we're wandering around like miscreants, and all of a sudden, we see this flatbed truck pulled up, and they're setting up instruments and everything, and we're like, interesting. Okay, we kept walking, we come back, and now there's a band playing, and we don't recognize any of the songs. I mean, we were almost 13, so we were a little more
Yeah.
bombastic when it came to like the music that we were listening to. And we were like, okay, and we're walking back again, and the band is coming back on, and we stopped, and we were like, okay, let's see what they're doing. Ostensibly, this was their encore, and they played Magic Carpet Ride
Oh, wow.
and Born to Be Wild.
Nice.
I just accidentally saw Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. Oh my God.
Yeah, in the early 80s. That was my first concert.
That is incredible.
I remember going, oh, my mom likes these guys. And it just kind of came out, and so to this day, I realized, I was like, oh man, I saw some cool stuff that day. I wasn't just
That's pretty
getting messed
special.
up. Yeah.
An impromptu Steppenwolf concert you didn't even realize you were at.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Like, and
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of people, man. So it was really like, I mean, I could see it. We were really close.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story. I
Yeah.
love that. What's your favorite movie?
Oh God, it depends on the genre.
Mhm.
Just because I was talking about it the other day, I'll say John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
It's a clinic in not just in special effects and gore, and I mean and everybody in it was amazing, but the fact that it's so claustrophobic
Yeah.
and so tense, and it builds this incredible vibe in the environment. You're just like, you just never know, So I love that movie.
So
It's one of my
good.
favorites of all time.
What's your favorite meal or cuisine?
Ooh, if I'm eating healthy or if I'm not eating healthy.
Either one.
If I'm not eating healthy, it's fried chicken with mashed potatoes and gravy, and maybe some waffles on the side.
Yum.
If I'm eating healthy, it's my wife's vegan lasagna that she makes, and
Okay.
it is, oh, chef kiss. It's all homemade. She makes it herself, and the cool thing is when I help her make it, I get to eat some of the stuff that's actually going into it. So I fill up
As you're
before we
going,
even
yeah.
bake the thing. Yeah. So
Oh, that's awesome. If you were not a musician, what would you be?
I wish I could say a teacher, because that's the thing I always wanted to be. I wanted to be a history teacher when I was younger, but I don't have the patience for it. And I kind of hate other kids. If I didn't make them, I hate other kids, really. I mean, and I say that in passing. I love kids as long as it's in little increments,
Yeah,
For the
that's
most, if
fair.
I had
That's
to kind
fair.
of show up day in, day out for weak ass pay and try to teach these kids who don't really care about anything, I'd probably snap within like a week, So I don't know, man. Maybe an actor, maybe a writer, I mean, it would definitely
Mhm.
be something
Something creative.
Yeah, man. I've always kind of leaned into that area, So I mean, at this point, God knows I've got enough, kind of dogs in the fire, so I could probably do a
Right.
million other things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you are creative through and through. What is a song that you wish you wrote?
10 Years Gone by Led Zeppelin. We just did a cover of that, for the B-sides, and
Oh, right,
we
right, right,
tracked
right.
it live in the studio
Wow.
because there was no way we were gonna be able to kind of piece it together. We tracked it live, and we just kept looking at each other going, "Are we really doing this? This is insane," and I'm telling you, Al, it sounds
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
Oh,
I
I can't
cannot wait
wait
for people to hear it. It's so
because that's a ballsy move. Covering Led Zeppelin is
yeah,
a ballsy
especially
move.
that song, man, because that song
Yes.
musically is
Yes.
fucking Olympics, man. It's a clinic.
Otherworldly.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many overdubs and there's so many parts that get lost in the production of the original that you don't realize that Jimmy Page was kind of fitting everything together like a fabric. It was insane, right? And then just what Robert was able to lay down, I mean, the emotion and the intent in his voice, I can only hope that I you know, did it credit basically, but
Oh, I'm psyched.
people
I
need to
can't
hear it.
wait.
Yeah, it's right.
Yes, I
I
need to hear
really wish.
that in
Yeah.
particular. What is something your fans would be surprised to learn about you?
At this point, I mean, I think it's safe to say that I'm a classic oversharer, so I'm not really sure, man. I, uh I think now they know that I do a lot of work with military and whatnot, but,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
I think they would be shocked just to know just how much I've done over the years, you know?
Yeah.
My family, a large part of my family was military. My grandfather,
Mhm.
was in the Korean War. He's one of the reasons why I started the Taylor Foundation,
Mhm.
and I think it's, you know, it's one of those things where it kinda gets lost in the shuffle of all of this stuff that I do for for charity purposes. I was finally able to do something with the USO 3 years ago because for a long time they just didn't want to have anything to do with me, which I get. You know, I'm bombastic, I'm subversive, it's fine, but at the same time, like I know we have a lot of fans who serve and a lot of
Right.
fans who, you know, serve and protect and a lot of fans who, you know, night in, night out, go out and try to save people's lives. So
Yeah.
I try to pay it forward as much as I can, whether it's by helping other charities or, you know, putting the time into my foundation, which helps it helps people in all of those walks deal with post-traumatic stress
Of
disorder.
course.
And
Yeah.
I've been trying to knit together a national network of local organizations, you know, because it sometimes people only really get exposed to the national organizations who are doing the work, which is great, and I'm glad that they exist. But there are so many local places in all of these cities
Mhm.
and states who are available, and maybe people don't even really know about them. So I've been using the Taylor Foundation to boost their signal and really make sure that you know when people go to our website, they can look up and find a place that's close to them. And even if it's a type of therapy that they're not comfortable with, those people can maybe put them in touch with somebody who can help them because that's what it all comes down to.
That's fantastic. It's so important, and there's not enough help. So
That's
that's great
true.
that you're doing that.
Well,
It's
thank
not
you.
enough help.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that is so admirable and important. So thank you
Yeah.
for doing that. What are words you live by?
I mean, at this point in my life, don't say it unless you mean it.
Mhm.
You know, don't say it unless you're going to do something. Basically, and that doesn't even have to do with like insults or kind of cutting into people. It has to do with what you want to put out there and what you want to do in your life. You know, don't say something, don't talk about something unless you're willing to put the energy and the time into making it happen. You know, because that's a great way to end up with regret
Yes.
is by sitting back going, man, do you remember that time I was talking about this and I should have done that? It's like, well, if you had said it and then just done it, it would be done, man. And you could have, you know, kind of capitalized on it and made something even bigger than yourself. So to me, in this day and age, don't say something unless you're ready to do it. And don't say something unless you mean it with every part of your heart.
I love that. There's already so much noise,
Yeah.
so it's like,
Yeah.
let's not contribute to that noise
Yeah.
unless there's gonna be actions behind it, for
Exactly.
sure. I like that. Last but not least, what do you hope to achieve next?
My goal, now that our Lord and Savior Ozzy Osbourne is retiring, sadly, from live music, I am hoping to grab the torch in his name and carry on and try to achieve even half of what he's been able to do. That's my goal, is to continue to make music well into my later years, hang out with my kids, and just, try to be happy with my wife, and steal her away every once in a while so we can have a decent vacation.
And enjoy her cooking.
Oh, trust me, if you saw me from the waist up right now, like, I enjoy too much of her cooking, man. Yeah.
Well, Corey, I am so glad we got to hang today. And this is a big birthday year for you. I hope you celebrate the whole year and beyond. And thank you. And I can't wait for all of this new music. You'll have to keep me posted.
I can't wait for you to hear it. I think you guys are going to dig it. It's going to be great.
Corey is just awesome. He is a larger-than-life rock star with a beautiful, caring heart, and I'm so excited for this next chapter of his solo career. It is now time for my sound advice. New music you need to know on the Allison Hagendorf Show playlist. You can find this wherever you listen to music and at AllisonHagendorf.com. We, of course, have to honor today's guest, Corey Taylor, by playing the new song he just put out this week. Corey said the song and the video is a reflection of finding the massive love in your life, the passion that comes along with it, and the fire that keeps you running and smiling. It is a come-together song. Check out the latest from Corey Taylor, Beyond. Next on my sound advice is a band that Corey and I talked about when we were discussing new bands that we're both loving. We talked about Sleep Token, who I featured on my sound advice in episode 2 with Tom Morello. But I want to feature another band we talked about, Australian band Amyl and the Sniffers. The frontwoman Amy, she has been receiving rave reviews from Corey and other rock stars, including Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins and Perry Farrell of Jane's Addiction. Amy has been called a female Iggy Pop. She is a force making her presence known. Check out Amyl and the Sniffers with their song, Hurts. Next on my sound advice is the truly unique artist, Gene Dawson. He is a musician, a visual artist, a storyteller, and his music is genreless and truly captivating. Gene recently released a pair of songs as the character Phoenix, and he explains Phoenix is a boy on the fringe and is described to write with the tenacity of Kurt Cobain and the subversive subjectivity of a David Bowie. Phoenix is only as real as the listener listening. One of my favorite parts of the song is the unexpected, gorgeous guitar solo about 2 minutes in. I love that Gene Dawson loves guitar solos. Who doesn't? Check out the latest from Gene Dawson, Youth. Next on my sound advice is the latest from Kenny Hoopla. I have been waiting for this one. Kenny is really paving his own way and is one of the most exciting new voices in the alternative rock world. He'll be opening for Blink-182 and Limp Bizkit later this year, and he'll be playing Reading and Leeds as well. Check out his new song out today, Kenny Hoopla with You Needed a Hit. Also on my sound advice is the newest from John Harvey out today. Originally from Philly, John has a sweet spot for all things 90s. Although he gravitates towards pop punk, this song channels his love for bands like Linkin Park. He actually mentions them in the song, Nirvana, Weezer, Deftones, and Incubus. He collaborated with Better Than Ezra frontman Kevin Griffin on this one, and in just 2 hours, this song was born. Check out John Harvey's latest. It's called At My Worst. That's my sound advice this week. You can hear all of these plus more on the Allison Hagendorf Show playlist. The link to that's in the show notes. You can hear it wherever you listen to music and at AllisonHagendorf.com. Thank you so much, as always, for being part of the Allison Hagendorf Show. New episodes drop every Friday, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. You can find the show wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch the show on Instagram and YouTube. I would love to hear from you, so please like, comment, rate, review, whatever you're feeling, and reach out to me on socials at Allie Hagendorf. I would love to connect with you. Let me know who I should interview next and what new music I should feature on my sound advice. Thanks again. I'll see you next week. And remember, you're a rock star.